Hi, this is Nick Shell with Fuller House Recaps. So I just watched the second episode, which is called Moving Day. And this is the episode in which Kimmy and her daughter Ramona move into the Fuller house. Something funny that's already started is Kimmy is referring to DJ and Stephanie as her sister wives. That's funny. That's funny. It is. So we learned that Kimmy Gibbler makes a living by having her own party planning business called Kibbler Style Party Planning. So pretty quickly this plot seems quite familiar because you realize that this is sort of a reboot of an episode from a long time ago in which Stephanie and DJ ended up having to share a room, because you can see that Jackson and Max are going to have to share rooms, which is actually the same room as DJ and Stephanie shared back in the 80s. My favorite part of the episode is actually when Stephanie and Kimmy are changing the diaper and the cell phone goes in there and there's a butt dial. Like, that's pretty funny. I actually, after I watched it the next day, I had my son watch it because he's 5 and he thought it was hilarious when she answers the phone and it's in the diaper. That's funny. This is also the episode where Jackson, DJ's oldest son, hops in Uncle Jesse's truck and they're driving through the vineyards of California. Side note, I like the fact that Uncle Jesse drives a big truck. That's cool. It didn't actually show the truck and I don't know for sure what kind of truck it was, but it looks like some kind of king cab truck maybe. It was a Toyota Tundra. I'm partial to Toyota trucks. I love Toyota trucks. So let's just assume it's a Toyota Tundra, maybe even a Tacoma. Either way, I like the fact that Uncle Jesse drives a truck. In this second episode of Fuller House, we see more character development from Stephanie. I'm going to do a whole separate video on Stephanie. I'm going to do a character analyzation of Stephanie Tanner. I'll probably do it on most of the characters, but I think she needs one. But here's a hint about what I'm going to say about that when I do that video. So I was born in 1981. Stephanie Tanner was born in 1982. I'm a year older than Stephanie Tanner in real life and on the show. So she's about 34 years old. But I'm telling you, she's acting like she's a very irresponsible 25-year-old. And that's not even subtle. They're making this very obvious. Each time I watch a new episode, we'll talk more about that later. So my closing thoughts on this episode, which again, this is the second episode of Fuller House called Moving Day. Here's the problem I have about it, because I am going to tell you what I don't like about each episode. The problem I had with it, clearly, if we're trying to be honest and fair, then Kimmy and her daughter Ramona should have shared the upstairs attic, just like Uncle Jesse and Rebecca did with their kids. I get it, Ramona would be in that little closet. But the attic's pretty big, so even if she only has a little space to put her bed and that's about it, she still has a lot of room up there. So I'm thinking it wouldn't have been that bad had they just, the Kibblers, shared the upstairs attic. That way the Fuller boys could have had their own rooms. It made a lot more sense. And it's almost like one of those plot devices that we needed a plot device to make this show work, to make this episode work, which is still how I feel about the fact that DJ's husband had to die. Why can't we just have a happily married couple on a show and they have a normal relationship? I guess people don't want to watch that apparently, but they had to kill him off. And again, I think that's just for the plot device of let's have a female version of the original concept of this show. But either way, the Gibblers should have stayed upstairs and it would have made life a lot easier. But of course, again, for plot development of future episodes, I guess we had to make sure that the two brothers roomed together so that they could have better storylines. That's my guess. Now, I'm going to end this video by making it very clear. I am a fan of Fuller House. I actually really like this show. And it's funny because I normally wouldn't watch a show of this caliber because of the type of humor. It's a little bit more Disney or Nickelodeon, which, you know, I'm used to watching The Office and Breaking Bad and Mad Men. You know, those are the kind of shows I would normally watch and the kind of humor that I really appreciate in there, where it's a little bit dark humor. So this is much more PG and much more straightforward. But you know what? I still like it. I really like this show. I'm enjoying each episode of it because I think they're doing a good job of engaging my attention on what happened to this family a couple decades later. So that's my recap of the second episode of Fuller House. And in about 30 seconds, I'll film the recap for the third episode. So I guess just wait for this video to end, and then if I've already got it made, just click on it and watch it, I guess, because I'm about to do it right now, but on a separate video. Again, I'm Nick Shell, your host of Fuller House Recaps.